Day-Wan kept his hand steady on the controls as his freighter drifted past the Krathian patrol ship. The scanner showed the alien vessel turning away, losing interest in what looked like another garbage hauler heading to the moon colonies. He let out a breath he had been holding for 2 minutes. "Clear," he said into the comm. 30 seconds to the dark side. The moon's surface rushed up to meet him. Day-Wan killed the running lights and dropped into a crater that official maps claimed was empty. It was not empty. Hidden under thermal blankets and rock dust sat the entrance to a base that had taken 20 years to build. His cargo hold carried medical supplies, computer parts, and weapons. All of it was illegal. All of it was necessary. Hana was waiting when he landed. She looked tired. Everyone in the Resistance looked tired these days. She had been working in the Krathian embassy on Earth for 5 years, translating documents and pretending to be loyal. Every night she copied files and sent them to the Resistance. Every morning she went back and smiled at the aliens who had conquered her world. "We have a problem," she said as Day-Wan opened the cargo ramp. A big one. Inside the base, the Resistance Council was already gathering. Ji-Woo stood at the front of the room, studying a holographic map of Earth. He was young for a military strategist, only 32, but he had been fighting the Krathians since he was 17. Back then, Earth still had a defense force. Back then, humans still thought they could win a direct fight. They had been wrong. The Krathian Empire had crushed Earth's fleets in 3 weeks. That was 40 years ago. Since then, Earth had been a colony. Humans worked in the mines, the factories, the farms. They built ships for the Empire and grew food for alien worlds. In return, the Krathians let them live. Governor Tharn had ruled Earth's sector for 15 years. He was cruel in the casual way that came from never facing consequences. When humans protested, he executed the leaders. When production quotas were missed, he burned entire neighborhoods. He had killed over 50,000 humans during his rule. Everyone knew his name. Everyone hated him. Hana connected her data chip to the projector. "I pulled this from the governor's private files yesterday. He is planning something he calls the final deterrent." The image showed a list of cities: Seoul, Tokyo, Mumbai, Cairo, Mexico City, New York. Each city had a number next to it. The numbers added up to 10,000. "Public executions," Hana said. 10,000 civilians chosen randomly, 1,000 in each major city. He wants to break the Resistance by showing everyone that we cannot protect them. The room went silent. Day-Wan felt sick. Ji-Woo's face showed nothing, but his hands curled into fists. "When?" someone asked. 72 hours from now," Hana said. "He has already selected the victims. He has already built the platforms in the city squares." An older woman named Sukja spoke up. She had been fighting longer than anyone in the room. "We need to evacuate the targets." "Get them out of the cities before—" "We cannot," Ji-Woo interrupted. "Tharn has the cities locked down. Anyone who tries to run will be shot. Anyone who helps them will be added to the execution list. He is daring us to try." "Then we hit his security forces," Day-Wan said. "Coordinated strikes. Take out his soldiers before they can reach the platforms." "He has 30,000 troops on Earth," Ji-Woo said. "We have maybe 5,000 fighters, and most of them have small arms. We cannot win that fight, so what do we do?" Sukja demanded. "Let them die?" Ji-Woo turned to face the council. "We do not defend Earth, we attack their worlds." Everyone started talking at once. Day-Wan stared at Ji-Woo like he had lost his mind. "Attack the Krathian Empire. Their military could destroy entire planets. They had fleets that numbered in the thousands. They had conquered 200 worlds and held them for 800 years. "Listen to me," Ji-Woo said, raising his voice. "The Empire is strong because everyone believes they are invincible. No conquered world has ever fought back successfully. No one has ever made them hurt. We cannot beat them in a straight fight, but we do not need to. We just need to make them bleed." Hana was nodding. "He is right. I have been tracking Empire military movements. They have pulled 70% of their fleets to the neutral zone. They are preparing for a war with the Vorgath Confederacy. Their core worlds are vulnerable right now. They only have skeleton defense forces." "You want us to attack their homeworlds?" Sukja said. "With what? We have no ships, no weapons that can threaten a planet." "We have ships," Ji-Woo said quietly. "We have been building them for 30 years. He changed the hologram to show an asteroid field far beyond Earth's orbit. Hidden among the rocks were shapes that Day-Wan slowly recognized. Warships. Human warships from before the conquest, salvaged and repaired in secret. There were dozens of them. We have 40 destroyers, Jiwoo said, 200 fighter craft, all hidden in different locations across the system. They are old ships, outdated by Empire standards, but they work, and the Krathians do not know they exist. Day One found himself standing. Even if we have ships, we are not soldiers. Most of us have never been in a space battle. Then we learn fast, Jiwoo said, or we die. But if we stay here and do nothing, 10,000 people die in 3 days. And then another 10,000 next month. And another after that. Tharn will keep killing until we are too afraid to resist. That is his plan. He wants us to give up. What is your plan? Sukja asked. Jiwoo pulled up a new map. It showed 5 planets, all marked with Krathian symbols. These are their core worlds in this sector. This one manufactures weapons and ships. This one grows food for 30 planets. This one is their administrative capital. Each one is protected by maybe a dozen defense platforms and a patrol fleet. We hit them fast, do as much damage as we can, and get out before their main fleets arrive. And while we are attacking their worlds, Hana said, they cannot focus on Earth. Tharn will have to delay the executions. He will have to wait for orders from the Empress. That gives our people on Earth time to prepare a defense. Or it makes him execute everyone immediately, someone said. Maybe, Jiwoo admitted, this plan could fail. We could lose the fleet and lose the people on Earth. But if we do nothing, we definitely lose the 10,000. At least this way we fight back. At least this way we show the Empire that humans do not break. The Council argued for an hour. Some called it suicide. Some called it murder. Because civilians on those Krathian worlds would die too. Some called it the only chance they had. In the end, they voted. 12 in favor. 11 against. Jiwoo looked at Hana. How long until Tharn starts the executions? 72 hours. Then we launch in 60. Get everyone to the fleet bases. Tell them to bring whatever weapons they have. He turned to Day One. I need your freighter captains. Every civilian ship that can mount a weapon. Day One thought about the risks. Then he thought about 10,000 people standing on execution platforms. You will have them. The meeting broke up. People scattered to their tasks. Hana caught Jiwoo's arm as he was leaving. If this works, she said, we start a real war. We are already at war, Jiwoo said. We have been at war for 40 years. We just stopped fighting. It is time to remind the Empire what humans can do when they have nothing left to lose. Far above them on Earth, Governor Tharn sat in his office and reviewed the execution lists. He smiled. In 3 days, the human resistance would be broken. In 3 days, Earth would finally learn to obey. He had no idea that the humans were about to teach the Empire a lesson instead. Sungmin had grease under his fingernails and a headache that had lasted for 3 days. He stood in the main hangar of Asteroid Base 7 and watched as engineers ran final checks on ships that had been dead for decades. The destroyers looked ancient compared to modern Krathian vessels. Their armor was thinner. Their weapons were slower, but they worked, and right now that was all that mattered. How many are flight-ready? Jiwoo asked, walking up behind him. 38 destroyers confirmed, Sungmin said. 2 more might be ready in 12 hours, but I would not bet lives on it. For fighters, we have 197 operational. The rest need parts we do not have. It will have to be enough. Jiwoo looked at the nearest destroyer. The name on the hull said Incheon. It had fought in the last battle for Earth 40 years ago. Half the crew had died when the ship was boarded. Sungmin had found their bodies still strapped in their stations when he started repairs. He had given them proper burials before bringing the ship back to life. Mirai arrived with her squadron leaders. She was the best pilot in the Resistance, trained by her father who had flown in the old Earth Defense Force. She had logged more flight hours and salvaged fighters than anyone alive. Now she was being asked to lead 200 pilots, most of whom had only flown cargo haulers and mining ships. Show me the targets, she said. Hana spread the holographic map across the table. 5 planets glowed red. Krathia Prime 3 is the industrial center. They build 60% of the Empire's ships and weapons there. The orbital defenses are 12 platforms and a patrol group of 8 cruisers. Planetary shields cover the major cities and manufacturing zones. What about fighters? Mirai asked. Maybe 200 stationed on the planet. But they need time to launch. If we hit the platforms hard and fast, we can take them down before the fighters scramble. That is a lot of maybe, one of the squadron leaders said. Everything about this plan is maybe, Jiwoo said. But here is what we know for sure. The Krathian Empire has never been attacked at home. Their defenses are built to stop external invasion, not raids from inside their territory. They think we are beaten. They think we have no ships, no weapons, no will to fight. That gives us one advantage: surprise. Day one had brought 300 freighter captains to the meeting. They were not soldiers. They were merchants and smugglers, people who had learned to survive under occupation by keeping their heads down. Now they were being asked to fly into battle. "What do you need from us?" one of them asked. "Your ships are small and fast," Jiwoo said. "The Empire will see you coming and think you are refugees or traitors. By the time they realize you are armed, you will be inside their defenses. We need you to hit ground targets while the fleet deals with orbital platforms. You want us to bomb cities? No, we want you to hit infrastructure. Power plants, communication centers, supply depots, military targets only. No civilian populations." "The Empire will not make that distinction," Day One said. "When we do this, they will call us terrorists." "They already call us rebels and criminals," Hana said. "The difference is, after this, they will also call us dangerous." Training began immediately. Mirai drilled her pilots on attack formations and evasive maneuvers. Sungmin walked every captain through their ship systems, making sure everyone knew how to fire weapons and repair damage. Hana briefed teams on target locations and Empire communication protocols. 48 hours before launch, Governor Tharn made a broadcast to Earth. His face appeared on every screen in every city. "Citizens of Earth," he said in perfect English, "your resistance has caused too much trouble for too long. In 48 hours, we will execute 10,000 of your people. This is not punishment. This is education. You will learn that the Empire cannot be defied. You will learn that rebellion has consequences." The resistance watched in their bases. Sungmin saw the fear on people's faces. They were about to attack the most powerful empire in the galaxy with a fleet of salvaged antiques. If they failed, the executions would be just the beginning. Jiwoo stood up. "I know what you are thinking. This is crazy. This is suicide. Maybe it is, but let me tell you what happens if we do nothing. Tharn kills 10,000 people. Then next month he kills 10,000 more. And the month after that, he will keep killing until we give up or until we are all dead. That is the future the Empire offers us. Obedience or extinction." He activated the map again. "But there is another future. One where we fight back. One where we hurt them so badly they have to listen. Will some of us die? Yes. Will some of them die? Also yes. War is ugly and people get hurt. But slavery is uglier. Living on your knees is worse than dying on your feet." Mirai raised her hand. "What if we cannot win?" "We are not trying to win," Jiwoo said. "Not today. Today we are trying to survive. Today we are trying to show every conquered species in this galaxy that the Empire can bleed. If we do that, we have already succeeded." 24 hours before launch, Hana's intelligence network sent an alert. Governor Tharn had discovered something. He was sending security teams to search suspected resistance hideouts across Earth. He was moving the execution schedule up. Instead of 48 hours, they now had 24. The resistance leadership met in emergency session. "We are not ready," Sungmin said. "Half the ships still need final checks. The pilots need more training time." "We are out of time," Hana said. "If we wait, Tharn kills everyone tonight. If we launch early, we might lose half the fleet just getting to the first target," Mirai argued. Jiwoo looked at each of them. "I am not going to order anyone to fly. This has to be a choice. Everyone who wants to back out can do so now. No shame, no judgment. But I am going. With 1 ship or 100 ships, I am going to make the Empire hurt." Silence filled the room. Then Day One stood. "My captains are in." Mirai stood next. "My pilots are ready." One by one, everyone stood. "Then we launch in 6 hours, Jiwoo said. "Hana, get a message to our people on Earth. Tell them to cause as much chaos as possible when the executions start. Make Tharn focus on controlling the cities. The longer he is distracted, the better chance we have." The fleet began moving to launch positions. 38 destroyers, 197 fighters, 300 armed freighters, against an empire that had conquered the galaxy. Sungmin did a final walk through the Incheon. The ship hummed with power. It felt alive again after 40 years of sleep. He thought about the original crew, the ones who had died defending Earth. He hoped they would be proud of what was about to happen. On Earth, Tharn sat in his command center and watched security teams raid empty safe houses. The humans were hiding something. He could feel it. But his scans showed nothing in orbit except the usual traffic. The moon bases were quiet. Everything looked normal. He decided to start the executions immediately. Why wait? Fear worked better when it was unexpected. In space, far beyond Earth's orbit, the human fleet gathered in the shadow of the asteroid field. Jiwoo stood on the bridge of the Incheon and looked at the ragtag armada. Old ships, untrained crews, desperate people with everything to lose. All ships, this is Jiwoo. In a few hours, we are going to do something no conquered world has ever done. We are going to take the fight to the Empire's home. Some of us will not come back. That is the truth, and I will not lie about it. But those who do come back will carry a message. Humans do not break, humans do not surrender, and humans do not forgive. He opened the fleet-wide channel. All ships prepare for jump. Target coordinates locked. On my mark. On Earth, the first execution platforms powered up. Civilians were being dragged from their homes. Tharn smiled. In space, the fleet jumped. The smile disappeared from Tharn's face when his sensor officer reported energy signatures consistent with a fleet departure. He pulled up the scanner data. No, impossible. Humans had no fleet, but the scans did not lie. Where are they going? Tharn demanded. Computing trajectory now, Governor. They are heading... Oh no. Oh no, they are heading for the core worlds. Tharn felt something he had not felt in 15 years of ruling Earth. He felt afraid. He grabbed the communications console. Get me the nearest battle fleet, now. I do not care what they are doing. I do not care who I have to beg. Get them here now. The response came back in minutes. The nearest Imperial fleet was 3 weeks away, minimum. Tharn looked at the execution platforms being set up in the city squares. He looked at the scanner showing the human fleet jumping toward Krathia Prime 3. He realized he had made a terrible mistake. He had pushed the humans too far. The human fleet dropped out of jump space at the edge of the Krathia Prime 3 system. Alarms immediately started screaming on every Krathian defense platform. Sensor operators stared at their screens in confusion. Ships were appearing. Human ships. That was impossible. Kyung-soo worked fast on his console aboard the Incheon. He was the best hacker the Resistance had, and right now he was trying to do something that should not be possible. He was trying to break into a planetary defense network that had been built by a civilization 1,000 years more advanced than Earth. Talk to me, Kyung-soo, Jiwoo said from the captain's chair. Their security is good, but it is also arrogant. They never expected anyone to try this from inside their own territory. I am through the first 3 layers, working on the shield controls now. On the Krathian defense platforms, commanders were shouting orders. Launch fighters, charge weapons, contact the surface, get reinforcements. The humans had 38 destroyers and they were coming in fast. The platforms had superior firepower, but they needed time to coordinate. Time they did not have. Shield control is mine, Kyung-soo said. Dropping the Northern Hemisphere defense grid in 3, 2, 1. The shimmer of energy that protected Krathia Prime. 3's industrial zones flickered and died. A 12-minute window before automated systems could restore it. 12 minutes to do as much damage as possible. Mireille, you are clear, Jiwoo said. Light them up. Mireille's fighter wing screamed down toward the planet. 197 fighters against a world that built ships for an empire. The orbital defense platforms tried to track them, but the fighters were small and fast. They wove through the defensive fire like they were dancing. Mireille locked onto the first platform. It was massive, the size of a city block, bristling with weapons. She fired missiles and watched them streak across the gap. The platform's point defense took out 4 missiles, but 6 got through. Explosions ripped across the platform's hull. It started to tumble. Target 2 going down, someone reported. 3 is damaged, losing power. 4 is launching fighters, break and engage. The battle dissolved into chaos. Human fighters dueled with Krathian interceptors. The destroyers traded fire with the defense platforms. Ships on both sides exploded in brief flashes of light. Yuna sat in a drop pod with 30 Marines, waiting for launch. She had never been in combat before the occupation. She had been a teacher. Then the Krathians came and killed her students. Now she taught a different kind of lesson. 60 seconds to launch, the pilot said. Yuna checked her rifle for the 10th time. Around her, the Marines looked scared. Good. Fear kept you sharp. Fear kept you alive. The pod launched. Artificial gravity failed and Yuna's stomach lurched. Through the small window she could see the planet rushing up. She could see explosions in orbit. She could see a Krathian fighter break apart as human missiles found it. They hit the ground hard. The pod door blew open and Yuna was moving before the smoke cleared. They had landed in an industrial complex that manufactured ship components. Massive factories stretched in every direction. Krathian workers were running in panic. "Secure the power plant," Yuna ordered. "Non-lethal force on civilians. Anyone with a weapon is hostile." Her team moved through the complex. They encountered security forces, Krathian soldiers in light armor carrying plasma rifles. The firefight lasted 3 minutes. When it was over, 2 humans were wounded and 7 Krathians were dead. Yuna hated how easy it was. They reached the power plant and placed charges. In orbit, Mirai's fighters had destroyed 8 of the 12 defense platforms. The survivors were retreating, calling for backup. The human destroyers were damaged but still fighting. "All teams, this is Jiwoo. You have 4 minutes before shield restoration. Complete objectives and get out." Yuna set the timer and pulled her team back to the pods. They lifted off just as the power plant exploded. The blast took out electricity for 300 square miles. Factories went dark. Assembly lines stopped. Production ceased. The human fleet was already jumping out when the Krathian reinforcements arrived. By the time the Empire's response ships reached orbit, the humans were gone. Left behind was a burning industrial complex, destroyed defense platforms, and a planet in shock. Aboard the Incheon, Jiwoo reviewed damage reports. They had lost 12 fighters and 1 destroyer, 37 dead, 42 wounded. In exchange, they had crippled 40% of the Empire's weapons production in this sector. "Next target," he said. "We jump in 3 hours. Everyone repair what you can." The second target was Krathia Prime 7, the agricultural world. This planet grew food for 30 other worlds. Losing it would mean hunger across the sector. Daewon led this attack. His freighter captains came in pretending to be refugees fleeing the fighting at Krathia Prime 3. They claimed they were civilians looking for sanctuary. They broadcast distress signals. They begged for help. The Krathian officials on Krathia Prime 7 welcomed them. They had no reason to suspect. These were cargo ships and passenger transports. They looked harmless. Daewon landed his ship at a major spaceport near the largest food storage facility in the southern hemisphere. 200 other freighters landed at similar locations across the planet. The captains and crews disembarked in civilian clothes. They looked like refugees. They acted like refugees. They were saboteurs. Kyungsoo had given each team a virus. It was simple, elegant, and vicious. Once introduced into the storage facility, computer systems, it would alter the environmental controls. Temperature would rise by exactly 3 degrees. Humidity would drop by 10%. Small changes, unnoticeable for hours, but enough to spoil food meant for billions. By the time Krathian security realized what was happening, the damage was done. Grain silos were contaminated. Vegetables were rotting. Meat was spoiling. The storage facility operators tried to shut down the systems manually, but Kyungsoo's virus had locked them out. Daewon and his captains were already lifting off when the alarm started. They jumped out of the system before the defense forces could scramble fighters. 30 planets would go hungry. The Empire would have to divert food from other sectors. Supply chains would break down. Prices would rise. People would start to ask questions about why the invincible Empire could not protect its own worlds. The third attack happened the same day. Mirai took her fighters to Krathia Prime 1, the administrative capital. This world was the bureaucratic heart of the sector. Every order, every report, every communication between worlds passed through the systems here. Kyungsoo had already mapped the communication arrays, massive satellite networks that kept the Empire connected. Mirai's fighters came in fast, launched missiles, and were gone in 6 minutes. They destroyed 37 communication satellites before the defenders could respond. Suddenly the Empire was blind. Worlds could not talk to each other. The military could not coordinate. Governors could not report to the Empress. The administrative capital was isolated. On Earth, Governor Tharn watched the reports come in with growing horror. 3 worlds hit in the same day. The humans were moving faster than the Empire could respond. His sensor operators had tracked the fleet, but by the time he sent warnings, the humans had already struck and vanished. He still had the execution platforms. He still had the civilians ready to die. But now he hesitated. If he killed them, what would the humans do next? Would they attack more worlds? Would they start targeting civilian populations? Hana and the resistance on Earth were fighting their own battle. When Tharn tried to start the executions, they launched coordinated attacks across every major city. Resistance cells hit security checkpoints. Bombs exploded in Krathian administrative buildings. Power grids failed in military zones. It was chaos. Tharn could not execute civilians while his soldiers were fighting in the streets. He called for reinforcements from other worlds, but the communication networks were damaged. His messages were not getting through. For the first time in 40 years, humans were winning. Jiwoo stood on the bridge of the Incheon and felt exhaustion in his bones. They had hit 3 worlds in one day. They had lost 39 fighters and 2 more destroyers. 112 humans were dead. More were wounded. But the Empire was bleeding. "Incoming transmission from Earth," the comm officer said. "It is Hana." Her face appeared on screen. She looked tired, but she was smiling. "Tharn has not executed anyone. He cannot. We have the cities in lockdown. His forces are stretched too thin." "How long can you hold?" Jiwoo asked. "Maybe 2 days, maybe less. He is calling for reinforcements. Then we hit them again tomorrow. 2 more worlds. We make them hurt so badly they forget about Earth." Hana nodded. "Be careful, Jiwoo. The Empire will not stay blind forever. Eventually they will adapt. Let them adapt. By then the whole galaxy will know that humans can fight back." The transmission ended. Jiwoo looked at his remaining ships. 36 destroyers, 158 fighters, 300 freighters, many of them damaged. Not much of a fleet. Not enough to beat the Empire in a real war, but enough to keep fighting, enough to keep hurting them, enough to make them remember that Earth would never surrender. Far away on the Empire capital, Empress Silreth received the reports. 3 core worlds attacked, 1 in chaos, 1 starving, 1 blind. The 4th target was Krathia Prime 5, the military academy world. This was where the Empire trained its officers and elite soldiers. Jiwoo knew hitting it would hurt them deeply, not just in resources, but in pride. Yuna led 300 Marines in the ground assault. They dropped from orbit in the early morning, landing in the training fields where young Krathian cadets were running exercises. The Marines spread out fast, securing key buildings before the defenders could organize. The first firefight happened near the main dormitory. Yuna's squad came around a corner and found themselves facing 15 Krathian cadets in training armor. They could not have been more than 20 years old. Some looked even younger. "Drop your weapons," Yuna ordered in Krathian. One of the cadets fired. The shot went wide, hitting the wall behind Yuna. Her Marines returned fire on instinct. When the smoke cleared, 12 cadets were dead. The other 3 had their hands up, shaking in terror. Yuna looked at the bodies. They were so young. One of them was still holding a practice rifle, not even a real weapon. She had just killed children who were playing at being soldiers. "Secure them," she said quietly. "Medical attention for the wounded. Move out." The battle for the academy lasted 3 hours. The human Marines took the main buildings, destroyed the training facilities, and wrecked the equipment storage. The Krathian defenders fought hard, but they were students and instructors, not combat troops. They died by the hundreds. Jun worked in the medical bay of a captured building, treating wounded from both sides. He had been a surgeon before the war. Now he patched holes in people who were trying to kill each other hours before. A Krathian cadet lay on his table, bleeding from a chest wound. The kid could not have been more than 18. He kept asking for his mother in Krathian. Jun worked to save him, knowing that tomorrow this same kid might be flying a fighter trying to kill humans. "Why are we doing this?" Jun asked Yuna when she came to check on casualties. "Because they did it to us first." "That is not an answer. That is revenge." Yuna had no response to that. She left to coordinate the evacuation. They had completed their mission. Now they had to get out before reinforcements arrived. Back on the Incheon, Jiwoo received the casualty reports. 23 Marines dead, 47 wounded, Enemy casualties were over 300, most of them cadets barely old enough to serve. He felt sick. The command staff met to plan the fifth strike. The target was Krathia Prime 9, the medical research world. This planet housed hospitals, research centers, and medical colleges. It also had military medical facilities where they developed biological weapons. "We hit the military research labs," Jiwoo said. "Leave the civilian hospitals alone." "The labs are inside the hospital complexes," Hana said, studying the schematics. "We cannot hit one without damaging the other. Then we find a way. We are not going to bomb hospitals." Mirai spoke up from the back of the room. "My pilots are refusing to fly this mission." Everyone turned to look at her. "What?" they voted. "We hit military targets, that is one thing. We hit infrastructure, fine. But hospitals? No, we will not do it. You want to attack a medical world, find someone else." Daewon stood next to her. "My captains voted the same way. We signed up to fight the Empire, not murder sick people." Jiwoo felt control of the situation slipping. "We are targeting military facilities. The medical research they do there helps them build weapons. And it also helps them cure diseases," June said. "I have read about the research at Krathia Prime 9. They have developed treatments for conditions that kill millions every year. You bomb that planet, and you are not just hurting the Empire. You are hurting everyone. We need to make them surrender," Jiwoo said. "We need to hit them so hard they have no choice." "We need to be better than them," Mirai said. "If we become monsters to win, what have we won?" The room split. Half the command staff agreed with Jiwoo. They had to keep attacking, keep hurting the Empire until they broke. The other half sided with Mirai. There had to be limits. There had to be lines they would not cross. On Earth, Hana received emergency intelligence. Governor Tharn was preparing to deploy chemical weapons in the major cities. He was going to gas entire neighborhoods. Millions would die. She sent the message to Jiwoo immediately. "We are out of time. If we do not make the Empire surrender in the next 2 days, Earth burns." Jiwoo called another meeting. "Tharn is going to use chemical weapons. We have maybe 48 hours before he kills everyone. We need the Empire to surrender now. That means we hit Krathia Prime 9. That means we do whatever it takes." "No," Mirai said. "There has to be another way." Sungmin had been quiet through all of this. Now he spoke. "What if we hit the planet but evacuate the civilians first?" Everyone stopped. "What?" "We broadcast on all channels. Tell everyone we are coming. Give them time to evacuate the hospitals, the research centers, everything. Then we destroy the empty buildings. We show the Empire we have the power to kill millions, but we choose not to. We prove we are better than them." Jiwoo stared at him. "That is insane. They will use the time to reinforce their defenses." "Maybe. But Mirai is right. If we become like the Empire, we do not deserve to win." Hana pulled up new intelligence. "The Krathian battle fleet is returning early. They will arrive in 8 days. If we are still here when they show up, we are dead. This fleet cannot fight them head-on." "Then we have 8 days to end this," Daewon said. "We do it Sungmin's way. We show them mercy and strength at the same time." The vote was closer this time, but it passed. The human fleet jumped to Krathia Prime 9 and broadcast on every frequency. "This is the Human Liberation Fleet. We are going to attack this world. You have 24 hours to evacuate all civilians from military targets. Anyone who remains will be in danger. This is your only warning." Chaos erupted on Krathia Prime 9. The governor thought it was a bluff. His military commanders were not sure. The civilians panicked and started evacuating anyway. Empress Silreth watched from her capital and could not believe what she was seeing. The humans were warning their targets. They were giving the Empire time to prepare defenses. It made no tactical sense. "Why are they doing this?" she asked her advisors. No one had an answer. 24 hours later, the human fleet attacked. Mirai's fighters destroyed defense platforms while Yuna's Marines secured military research facilities. But the buildings were empty. The civilians had evacuated. The humans destroyed laboratories and weapons storage, but no hospitals, no civilian medical centers. The planetary governor surrendered after 6 hours. He had never seen anything like this. The humans could have killed millions. Instead, they had gone to extreme effort to spare civilian lives. Yuna walked through an empty hospital that her team had secured. The patients had all been evacuated the day before. Medical equipment was still running. Lights were on. It looked like everyone had just stepped out. "Why did we do this?" one of her Marines asked. We could have just bombed it from orbit. Because then we would be like them, Yuna said. And we are not like them. We are better. Day One's freighters began the massive operation of evacuating 2 million Krathian civilians from the planet. It took days. They used every ship they had. They transported people to nearby worlds, making sure everyone was safe before they completed the destruction of military targets. Empress Silreth watched the broadcasts. She watched human ships, the same ships that had just attacked her worlds, now carrying Krathian refugees to safety. She watched human medics treating Krathian wounded. She watched human soldiers helping Krathian civilians evacuate. For the first time in 300 years, she felt something she had not felt since she was young. She felt respect for an enemy. She opened a direct communication channel to the human fleet. This is Empress Silreth of the Krathian Empire. I wish to speak with your commander. Jiwoo appeared on her screen. He looked tired. He looked young. He looked like someone who had been forced to make terrible choices. I am listening, he said. Why did you evacuate my people? You could have killed millions. You could have broken our spirit. Because we are not trying to commit genocide, Jiwoo said. We are trying to win our freedom. There is a difference. You have attacked 5 of our worlds. You have destroyed critical infrastructure. You have killed thousands of our citizens. And you want me to just let Earth go? I want you to understand that we will never stop fighting. You can kill every human on Earth, and the ones on Mars will keep fighting. Kill them, and the ones in the asteroid colonies will fight. We will never surrender. We will never accept slavery. So you have a choice. You can waste your resources hunting us forever, or you can let us go and focus on enemies that actually threaten you. Silreth was silent for a long time. No conquered world has ever won its freedom from the Empire. Then we will be the first. If I grant Earth independence, it will make the Empire look weak. Other worlds will rebel. Other worlds are already going to rebel. We just proved it can be done. Silreth knew he was right. The news of the human attacks was spreading across the galaxy. Every conquered species was watching. Every subjugated world was asking the same question. If humans can do it, why cannot we? I need time to consider this, Silreth said. I am recalling my battle fleet. There will be a ceasefire while we negotiate. The negotiations took place on a neutral station at the edge of Krathian space. Jiwoo led the human delegation with Hana, Daewon, and Mireille. Empress Silreth came with her advisors and military commanders. Both sides were armed. Both sides were ready to fight if the talks failed. Silreth looked older in person than she did on broadcasts. 300 years of ruling had left marks that even advanced medicine could not erase. She studied the humans with dark eyes that had seen the rise and fall of civilizations. You fight well for such a young species, she said. Most worlds surrender after the first defeat. You kept fighting for 40 years. We had no choice, Jiwoo said. You gave us slavery or death. We chose to fight, and now you want freedom. Complete independence. No ties to the Empire. Yes, I cannot do that. If I let Earth go, every other conquered world will rebel. The Empire will collapse, then let it collapse, Hana said. You built it on slavery. It deserves to fall. Silreth's advisors bristled at that. One of them, a military commander, spoke up. You attack our worlds and then lecture us on morality? You killed thousands of our people. After you killed millions of ours, Daewon said. We did not start this war. We are trying to end it. By destroying our infrastructure and starving our people, we gave them warning. We evacuated civilians. We showed more mercy than you ever showed us. Silreth raised a hand and her advisors went quiet. That is true. You could have slaughtered millions on Krathia Prime 9. Instead, you saved them. Why? Because we are not monsters, Jiwoo said. We fight for freedom, not revenge. If we become like you, then we have lost everything that makes us worth saving. Pretty words. But words do not change political reality. I cannot grant you independence without destroying the Empire. Then give us autonomy, Hana suggested. Earth governs itself. No Krathian troops on our world. No occupation. But we remain part of the Empire for trade and diplomacy. Other worlds see that cooperation is possible without slavery. Silreth considered this. Autonomy is not freedom. No, but it is a start. It is not enough, Jiwoo said, cutting across Hana. We did not fight this war for autonomy. We fought for independence, full sovereignty, the right to control our own destiny without asking permission from an empire that enslaved us. Then we have nothing more to discuss, Silreth said, standing. You are asking for something I cannot give. Wait, Sungmin spoke for the first time. He had been quiet during the negotiations, but now he pulled up a holographic display. You think we are bluffing about continuing the fight? You think this fleet is all we have? The display showed asteroid bases scattered across 3 systems. Each one had ships under construction. Dozens of ships. Hundreds of ships. We have been building for 40 years, Sungmin said. This fleet was just the first wave. In 6 months, we will have 200 warships. In a year, 500. We will keep building and keep fighting until you let us go or until one of us is extinct. How many of your worlds are you willing to lose to hold on to Earth? Silrith stared at the display. Her intelligence had missed this. They had found the first fleet, but not the construction bases. Humanity had been preparing for this war for decades. You are threatening me. No, Jiwoo said. We are explaining reality. You cannot hold us. Even if you destroy this fleet, more will come. Even if you destroy Earth, humans on Mars and the colonies will keep fighting. We are not one world anymore. We are scattered across this entire sector. You cannot kill all of us. One of Silreth's military advisors leaned in and whispered something. She nodded slowly. If I grant you independence, I need something in return. What? Help me. Other worlds are going to rebel after this. That is inevitable. But if Earth stands as an example of peaceful negotiation instead of violent rebellion, it changes the narrative. You win your freedom through strength and mercy. Other worlds see that the Empire can be reasoned with. It prevents a galactic war that will kill billions. Jiwoo looked at his team. Hana nodded slowly. Daewon shrugged. Mirai looked thoughtful. You want us to help you keep your empire together? Jiwoo asked. I want you to help me transform it. From an empire built on conquest to one built on cooperation. It will take generations. It may fail, but it is better than endless war. And if we refuse, then my battle fleet arrives in 4 days and we fight until one of us is destroyed. I suspect we will win. We have more ships, better weapons, more resources. But it will cost us dearly. And even if we win, we will face rebellions on 100 other worlds. The Empire will bleed to death slowly instead of quickly. Jiwoo stood and walked to the window. Outside he could see stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, his home. The world he had been fighting for his entire adult life. Give me a day to discuss this with my people, he said. The human delegation returned to their ship. The debate lasted 6 hours. Half of them wanted to accept the deal. Half wanted to keep fighting until they got unconditional independence. We can trust her, Hana argued. She kept her word about the ceasefire. She came to negotiate in person. She is taking this seriously. She is a conqueror, Mirai said. She has enslaved 200 worlds. Why would she suddenly change? Because we made her change, Daewon said. We hurt her badly enough that she has to reconsider. That is victory. Victory is going home to a free Earth, Jiwoo said. Not making deals with tyrants. Sungmin pulled up casualty reports. We have lost 183 people in this campaign. If we keep fighting, thousands more will die. Maybe millions. We can win this war right now today with a signature. Or we can keep fighting for years and maybe lose everything. What about the 3,000 who died during the executions on Earth? Yuna asked quietly. Do we dishonor them by making peace with the people who killed them? We honor them by making sure no one else has to die the same way, June said. We honor them by building a future where Earth is free. The vote was close. 12 for accepting the deal. 10 against. 1 abstention. Jiwoo looked at the results and felt empty. They had fought so hard, lost so much, and now they were going to make a deal with the Empire that had enslaved them. But Sungmin was right. This was victory. Imperfect, complicated, but real. They returned to the negotiations. We accept, Jiwoo said. Full independence for Earth. In exchange, we will help you convince other worlds that peaceful reform is possible. Silrith nodded. Then let us write a treaty that history will remember. The Treaty of Free Earth took 3 days to negotiate. Every word was argued over. Every clause was debated. In the end, they had a document that gave Earth complete sovereignty. No Krathian troops. No occupation. No tribute or taxes. Earth would control its own military, its own government, its own future. In exchange, Earth would maintain diplomatic relations with the Empire. They would help mediate disputes with other worlds seeking independence. They would show that freedom could be won through strength and negotiation instead of endless war. The news spread across the galaxy in hours. Earth was free. For the first time in 800 years, a world had won independence from the Krathian Empire. On Earth, people poured into the streets. They celebrated in the ruins of cities that had been bombed during the fighting. They danced in the squares where execution platforms had been built. Governor Tharn was arrested by his own people and sent back to the Empire in chains. Day-Wan brought the fleet home. As they dropped out of jump space above Earth, he could see the planet below. Blue and green and beautiful. Free. Mireille landed her fighter at the same base where she had trained 40 years ago. The hangar was damaged, but the flag flying above it was human, not Krathian. Human. She cried for the first time since the war started. Hana returned to the city where she had worked as a translator in the Krathian embassy. The building was empty now, abandoned when the Empire withdrew. She stood in the office where she had spent 5 years pretending to be loyal, while stealing secrets. She did not feel triumphant. She felt tired. Jiwoo visited the memorial for the 3,000 civilians who had been executed during the war. Their names were carved in stone. 3,000 names. 3,000 people who died because he had chosen to attack the Empire instead of defending Earth. He placed flowers at the memorial. He whispered an apology to people who could not hear him anymore. He wondered if they would think it was worth it. He wondered if he would ever know. Yuna opened medical centers across Earth to treat wounded from both sides. Human soldiers who had lost limbs in the fighting. Krathian prisoners who had been injured during battles. She treated them all the same. She saved who she could. She mourned those she could not. June worked alongside her. They rebuilt hospitals. They trained new doctors. They tried to heal a world that had been scarred by 40 years of occupation and then by a brutal war of liberation. 5 years passed. Earth thrived. The cities were rebuilt. The economy grew. People who had spent their entire lives as second-class citizens learned what it meant to be free. 3 other species won independence from their empires. They used the same tactics. Attack infrastructure, avoid civilians, show strength and mercy. Each time they pointed to Earth as proof that it could work. The Krathian Empire was still powerful, still vast, but it was changing slowly. Silrith kept her word. She negotiated with worlds seeking autonomy instead of crushing them with military force.